Hello, everybody. Welcome to Lizzie Salem's Books. Hello, everyone out there. I see quite a few people already here. A lot of them are from the Killer Time with Cozies. I hear my own echo. Everybody was telling me that they could hear me echoing, and I don't know how to alleviate that. I tried headphones, and they said it was worse. Any of you guys out there in the chat? What? Why is it echoing? Oh my goodness, I don't know. Wow. Well, that's going to really mess things up. But welcome, everybody. Let me say hi to everyone, and I'm just going to hope and pray that it irons itself out. Let's see. Sophia and Tiffany and Cheryl and Melinda and Donna are all in the chat. Thanks, you guys, for coming. Thank you so much, Breezy Ann. And Berna. Hi, Berna, all the way from Turkey. What time is it in Turkey? Is it like, I guess, is it what, like 5 or 8 hours to Turkey from here? I hear myself echoing. Oh, I'm so mad. I'm using a different computer than I usually use. So this is Katie's computer, and it's newer, but I'm just not used to how it operates. I may have to pull it up on another computer. Hang on one second. I'll tell you what, let me mute myself and you guys go around and introduce yourselves, and I'm going to go get the other computer and plug it in and start up, like pulling it up. How about that? So talk amongst yourselves.
Berna says it's 11 p.m. in her.
Ooh,
11,
Berna,
okay.
you're up late. It's nice to see you, though. Well, I don't see you, but you know what I mean. If we're introducing ourselves, then I'll just go since I'm jabbering away anyway. My name is Janelle, and I'm from Too Fond of Books, and I am super excited for Mid-Year Mystery Madness. What about you guys in the chat? Are you guys super excited? I love a week-long event like this. It's really fun.
Yes, I do too, because I feel like it's more manageable. Like when you do a whole month one, you feel like you have to read more. Whereas if it's only a week, you're like, oh, I'll just read as much as I can in that period. So I like it. Okay, so
Why don't
I'm
you introduce yourself?
I'm Emily. I'm from the Redheaded Reading, and I've been a part of March Mystery Madness for 4 years, I think. I think I started the second year after Elizabeth was doing it. I'm not sure. Well, anyway, I've been here a while. All right.
I guess I'll go next. I'm Di. I'm from the channel Desus 19 Hearts. I run the Book One Cozies Club, or first in the series Cozy Mystery Book Club. And I've been with March Mystery Madness for a very long time.
I know.
I can't remember how long, but yeah. I think it was the second year that I was with them. Because the first year was Elizabeth and Troy, and then I joined on the year after. So, hi everybody. How are you doing?
I don't know.
I guess I'll jump in. Hi, I'm Jen. I'm from the channel Remember Reads, and I like to inject some non-cozy, depressing, topical mystery chat into our otherwise friendly group every now and then. So, shout out to everybody who's reading the depressing stuff.
I like the depressing stuff up to an extent. Like
we like all kinds.
Yeah. I always say my favorite is Tana French, and she's pretty. I mean, she's not depressing, but it's not cozy for sure.
No, they can be a bit dark, yeah.
Yep.
So I am back, but I'm still on the same computer. I have gone in the other room and brought the other computer in here, but it's an old computer, and the minute you unplug it, it dies. So it's going to take a little bit for it to come back up. So please bear with the echo, and I'm not quite sure how I can join. I may just have to join with the link and then keep my thing active on this computer and just turn the camera off and just be like a guest and go from there. I'm not sure how that's all going to work, but we'll figure it out as we go. So, everyone in the chat, please start typing in what you plan to read this week. If you've already started, did you start today? I have not yet started. Right after church, I had to take a kitten to the vet. We're actually fostering a kitten. So at some point when I turn off the camera, I'll go get him and show him to you. He's a little tiny baby and he has an injury on one leg. So he's got this bandage that's bigger than himself and he's adorable. So I'll show you him in a little bit, but meanwhile, everybody share with us what you are planning to read, and then let's go around in the chat. And by the way, we have one more host that's joining us, Alicia from the channel Pretty Brown Eye Reader. He's going to be joining us in about a half an hour. And so you guys go ahead and start. Di, if you want to tell us what subgenre you are reading from, and if it's one that you have read much before, or if it's something new to you, what your experience is with that subgenre, and why you chose it.
So I picked a book that the universe has kind of been telling me to read this entire year. It's a book that has been on my TBR for a very long time, and I've been seeing it everywhere. I've been seeing it on other people's booktube channels. I've been seeing it on knitting podcasts. I've seen trailers for a movie that's coming out, I think. And I figured it was time to finally get it read. So I will be reading Rebecca by Daphne du Maurier. I do not read this type of book very often. It says it's romantic suspense, but I also saw that it's possibly gothic and maybe a modern classic, and I don't read those pretty much ever. So I thought this would be a good one to read. It's much longer than I thought it was going to be, and the text is really tiny. So I'm presuming that it's going to take me the entire week to read this one book. So that's what I'll be reading.
Good. Well, I hope you enjoy it. It's a good time of year to read Rebecca. Rebecca is a good one to read for like fall, October, Halloween kind of, it's a good season for that.
Good. I'm excited.
I read Rebecca once, like before BookTube, and it's been so long that I read it. I kind of want to reread it, and I keep seeing it too. As you said, it's been all over BookTube, so I think I might have to reread it here one of these days. Not this week, but sometime.
What are you reading, Emily?
Okay, so I'm reading two books. I'm reading An Elderly Lady is Up to No Good by Helene Turston, and this is a collection of short stories, and my understanding is it's about a serial killer who's an 88-year-old lady, and it's about them trying to solve these serial killer murders, and it's in the form of short stories, and it's translated from the Swedish. So I decided I was going to try it because I don't read very many mysteries that are short stories or that are translated. And so I got this one, and this one is actually really tiny. Look at, I'm going to show you, I'm going to see if I can show you. So here's the other one I'm reading. It's like, it's so much smaller than the other one. It's crazy. Well, anyway, so I don't think I'm showing it right. Hold on. Well, anyway. Everything's the opposite of what I think it's going to be. Anyway, it's a lot smaller. So that's why I'm reading two. So I'm reading this one. And I'm reading The Psychology of Time Travel by Kate Mascarenas. And this one is a mystery where they're going through time to solve it. They're going back and forth. And it's kind of like a combination of science fiction and mystery. So I figured I'd try this out. And I saw this one Drinking by My Shelf a few months ago, and it's been really intriguing. So I decided I was going to use Mid-Year Mystery Madness as an excuse to read it. Yeah, Mystery Madness. I keep thinking I'm saying March Mystery Madness. It's like, no, it's September. It's not March. So yes, I'm reading these two. And I'm very excited.
An 88-year-old serial killer. That's awesome. Well, no, that's horrible, but intriguing.
Yeah, see, I don't know if you can read it, but it says 88-year-old woman. Yeah. Yeah, and it's really small. I can't get over it. Like when it came in at the library, I was like, why is it so little? It's so funny. Anyway, that's what I'm reading.
So before we go on, I saw that Ro just got here a couple minutes ago. Cozy Reads Mystery, and Ro, she was asking, does anyone have YouTube Live open in another link? And we were trying to sort that out, and I think it's probably something that I'm doing. I am aware that I'm echoing, so I'm pulling this up on another computer to see if that makes a difference. So we're working on it.
It seems like it's like going in and out. Like sometimes it's not that noticeable, and then sometimes it's like. So I don't know if it's related to.
Hopefully, I can just get it on the other computer, but it's very slow to get everything opened and loaded since it goes completely dead when I unplug it. So anyway, either Jen or Janelle, go ahead and tell us what your TBR is.
Okay, I will go ahead. I decided since it's only a week, I should really be, modest with what I can read for this event because I'm reading other things too. So I have two books that I decided to go with. I've got The Vintage Caper by Peter Mayle. This is a heist book, a caper book. I don't read those very often, and so I thought I'd go with this one. It is basically it's about a massive wine heist that takes place in Los Angeles. This guy has like a massive wine collection. There's a heist, and then the investigation goes from Los Angeles over to Europe, to France, all of that. So it sounds a little bit globe-trotting. And yeah, I'm interested. I've never read anything by Peter Mayle, so yeah, I thought that would be a fun one to give a whirl. And then I'm also reading. Well, this book is just boring, but the cover. I have. There's 10 stories in here, including The Maltese Falcon by Dashiell Hammett. Hammett? Who is it?
You got me.
I can hear myself echoing just a little bit. Dashiell Hammett. So that is hard boiled. And I think an argument could be made that Dashiell Hammett invented hard-boiled mysteries, and I don't read those at all. So I'm actually really excited to read the Maltese Falcon. It's a classic in the mystery genre, and of course, it's a classic in the hard-boiled subgenre. So yeah, I will give that a whirl and see what I think.
All right, did we hear from you, Jen? I think, is she frozen? You may be frozen.
Uh-oh.
Oh, dear.
Somebody in the chat was saying that they thought it might have been Jen that was echoing. But there's debate.
Well, I could hear Janelle was echoing too, and I was looking, everyone else was muted except you, but you don't have anything else open, right, Emily? Did you say?
No, I don't. Yeah, I can double check. No, I haven't turned on YouTube or anything.
Oh, here comes Jen back. So let me exit her out of here and bring her in here. Okay. Try again, Jen. Because I saw her coming back in, and she was still here. She may have come in on a different device. Well, now she's still frozen. Oh, it's going to be a day of technical difficulties, isn't it? I'm so sorry. Things can't be helped. All right, I'm still working on trying to get signed on the other computer. Okay, so before I start reading off all the chat, I want to try to alleviate the echoes. Maybe if somebody else who's not echoing wants to read through and just see what everyone else is reading and share with
Okay.
us, and I'll try to put it up on the screen.
Let's see. So, Berna says she's doing paranormal mysteries and legal mysteries. Cheryl says she's reading Die Like an Eagle by Donna Andrews. Breezy Ann says she's reading What Angels Fear by C.S. Harris. And she also said she loves Rebecca. So there's some Rebecca fans in the house. Donna says she's reading If I Ever Return by Sharon McCrum. And Julie says she's reading Resorting to Murder, Holiday Mysteries, which is a collection by the British Library. Let's see. Donna says that her books that she's reading are satirical mysteries about conventions and fandom. Let's see, there's some discussion about the echoing. Berna also says she's reading The Case of the Crimson Kiss by Earl Stanley Gardner. And she's also reading The Corpse Thieves by Charlotte E. English. So that's the very last message so far. So send us more of what you're reading so we can tell everybody.
Yeah, if you're just getting here, Lee from Dark Roots Creations is here. So tell us what your TBR is, and I'm getting closer to getting the other computer ready to leap over to there. Oh, here's Jen back. I'm sorry, I can't keep up with everything. Okay, there she is, right there. Okay, yay! Hopefully you're not frozen this time. Oh my goodness, you were moving. All right. So, did we hear what Di was reading? Berna or Cheryl asked what Di is reading. I think she was first, but if you missed it,
Sorry
go
about
ahead and you can
I
tell
keep
us
getting my
again, Di.
system
Hi,
reset.
Cheryl.
So.
I'm reading Rebecca by Daphne du Maurier.
So, who all has read Rebecca that's here in the chat? I figured Janelle had. Have you read it, Jen? Let's see if we can hear you. I know your video is not working great, but
Elizabeth, you read Rebecca this year for March Mystery Madness, right?
I did. Yeah, I did. And I didn't love it, but I didn't hate it. And it was interesting. It was good to know what all the fuss was about. So, yeah, in fact, our book club is discussing it in October. So, this is the month. I may have to get it and do a refresher, at least look up some discussion questions and things like that for our book club. So now I don't hear myself echoing. Am I echoing right now? Huh. Well, that's interesting. Okay. Well, anyway, the other one's coming up, so I may, if I need to, if it starts echoing again, I may have to switch over. Well, and I wonder, I don't know, it's weird. Okay, so now everybody can continue to. Oh, here's what Ro is reading. Hang on, let me pull it up. She says, I will be binge reading the Candy Shop Mystery Series by Sammy Carter. Don't want to read a subgenre out of my comfort zone. Cozies only. Yes, we know. Cozy Row only reads cozies. So that's cool. And I was already thinking yesterday that an idea for next year, if we wanted to continue the subgenre September, maybe since like we're doing, I don't know if it's a secret or not, so that for March Mystery Madness, we're doing the theme of doubles since it's the year 22. Maybe for Mid-Year Mystery Madness, we could do the challenge of read from 2 different subgenres since it's the year 22. So that's just kind of a thought. And that way you could read one in your comfort zone and one out of it or whatever. So, but yes, Ro, I didn't expect you to read anything but cozies, and you can still consider yourself a participant because that was just a fun challenge, as long as you're reading some mysteries, it's still good. So Cheryl says no echo. Yay! I'm so glad.
Bro, I did read the first book in the Candy Shop Mystery Series, and I thought it was really good. So I'm looking forward to seeing what you think of it.
I haven't heard of that one. I've heard of the Amish candy shop, but I haven't heard of the candy shop. What's the name of the first one? Anyone know?
I think it's like Candy Dipped Murder or something like that. I have it in my room. I actually acquired the rest of that series this year, so it's on my list to continue.
Okay, awesome. Also, while I'm thinking about it, I want to give a shout out to Book One Cozy's Club, which is Di, and the one she is reading right now. I sort of promised the author that I would do a review of it this week for Mid-Year Mystery Madness. It is by Jessica Thompson. I follow her on Instagram, and you probably do too. Tell us, remind me, I don't want to get the title wrong. Something about love and murder, but tell us what you're reading right now and what you're doing this week for Book One Cozy's Club.
So the book is A Caterer's Guide to Love and Murder, which is the first book in the Caterer's Guide to Crime Mystery series. And she's actually has her second book coming out in October, but it's a holiday themed one. So spoiler alert, I will be reading that one as a Book One Cozy's Club bonus in December because it is holiday themed. But yeah, I actually, for those of you who don't know, I pre-record the chapter by chapters. So even though they just started going up on my channel a couple days ago, I just finished the book last night. So yeah, it's been fun. And Jessica Thompson is really funny. I've seen some of her things on Instagram and cracks me up.
Yeah, she's got some funny shorts where she'll do little short videos, and they're hilarious, just about like being a mom and writing at home and working from home and all this fun stuff. Yeah, she's funny. So if you don't follow her on Instagram, I'll try to remember to go back and leave a link to her book and also her Instagram in the discussion, or in the, not the discussion, in the description of this video after it uploads. And if I forget, someone, if you're watching this later, remind me to do that. So, all right. What else? Okay, so what I wanted to do now is turn the floor over to Janelle, because some of you might be thinking, subgenre September. Well, I don't know what all genres there are. And if you didn't see Janelle's video where she talked about all the things, all the subgenres, it's amazing, and I will link that video in the description as well. But Janelle, just to recap, just give us kind of a rundown on the subgenres. Maybe start with the ones you like, but just any that you can think of, and maybe give an example of those, just to help everybody out there know the scope. Because honestly, a lot of us probably think, okay, well, there's historical and there's cozy and there's not cozy and police procedural. Okay, I guess that's it. That is so not it. There's so many more. So tell us.
All right, there are a lot of subgenres, and I'm not even going to be able to tell all of them. And then there's kind of like offshoots, right? So I think an argument could be made that if you read a translated work, you know, that's not a subgenre, but if it's not something you read all the time, then you could make it count for, I think, for subgenre September. But as far as kind of the classic subgenres go, Elizabeth listed a few really good ones. So my favorite is historical mysteries. I absolutely love historical mysteries. But what makes it fantastic is that that's a huge subgenre just on its own, because historical, what does that mean? You could read something from the Roman era, way back in the Roman era, in like whatever that was, 2000 BC or whatever. But you could also be reading from the medieval time period, or from the American Civil War time period, or from World War II. Like, it's so vast. And so even within historical mysteries, people have their own eras that are their favorites. So for example, I really like medieval historical mysteries, but I also really enjoy World War II historical mysteries, or Tudor era historical mysteries. So even within that subgenre, there's so many directions you could go. all over the world too, right? So you've got historical mysteries. Like Elizabeth said, there are police procedurals, which generally means you're following a police detective as they work through a case. And often you will get the team as well. So it's usually, the series is usually called by the name of the lead detective, but you very often get to know the other members on their team as well. So if he's the superior, or he or she is the superior officer, then you would get to know the other people on their team, possibly even forensics or the medical examiner as well. So police procedurals are fun because you really get to follow the investigation as the police do their work. But then you also have, like Elizabeth said, you have cozies. And again, cozies are a huge kind of subgenre as well. There's so many different types of cozies. But for the most part, a cozy usually means no sex, no violence, and most often will have an amateur sleuth. Isn't that right, Di? Yeah. I don't read as many cozies. I do read cozies, but not as many as Di and to some of you watching today. So usually a cozy is a little more lighthearted. There's not, you don't get a lot of violence. Probably most often the murder happens off screen, off the page. And you get an amateur sleuth who is investigating the mysteries. On the other side, you have hard-boiled, which is like they are really good to juxtapose, because if cozies are no sex, no violence, hard-boiled are kind of all sex, all violence. That's not true, but so hard-boiled mysteries are darker. They will have a detective too, but quite often it's a private detective in hard-boiled mysteries as opposed to an amateur detective. They're darker, grittier. There is definitely violence in hard-boiled mysteries. Not necessarily sex, but there might be. Who knows? I don't tend to read a lot of those, which is why I'm reading Dashiell Hammett's The Maltese Falcon.
What is pulp like in comparison to hard boiled? Is there similarities?
I believe, I'm not entirely sure, but I believe pulp is specifically related to like the 30s and 40s, stories like that came out in the 30s and 40s, I think. Don't quote me on that one though, because I'm not entirely sure. Noir is another subgenre that's pretty close to hard-boiled. And again, it's just a little bit dark. And then you also get, so let's move on to a few other subgenres. Paranormal or supernatural mysteries are a pretty big subgenre. And in those you get, it could be really anything. Like you could have a vampire investigating or a witch or something like that. I think everybody knows what you mean by supernatural or paranormal. You can also have legal mysteries. So the big guy in legal mysteries is John Grisham, of course. I think, I don't think he invented it, but he definitely perfected the subgenre of the legal mystery, where it could also be called a courtroom drama. So you have usually a main character who is a lawyer, and you will quite often get quite a lot of the court case happening right on the page. You get to read through the entire court case that's happening. You also have medical mysteries is a big subgenre. So you get the main character is something in the medical industry. So it could be a doctor, could be a nurse. I wouldn't say, however, that mysteries that have a main character of a medical examiner isn't necessarily a medical mystery. I would put those more in the police procedural category. But so medical mysteries often take place in hospitals or in doctors' offices. And then let's see, you could also do traditional mysteries. Traditional mysteries quite often get put in with cozies, but they're not necessarily cozies. By traditional, they're more just meaning they're kind of like from the golden age, but they've been written more recently. So you get like an Agatha Christie style mystery, but maybe it was written, in the 80s or 90s or, yesterday or whatever. So you get, it's a very traditional, usually that means it's a fair play mystery where you as the reader get all the clues that the detective gets so that you get a chance to solve the mystery along with them. And then, of course, Golden Age you could make an argument that that's a subgenre too, right? So mysteries that were written in the 20s, 30s, and 40s, that was the Golden Age, they say, of the mystery. And quite often those are fair play mysteries as well. They could have a police detective as the main character. They could also be amateur sleuths. But what makes them Golden Age is when they were written. And I'm sure that there are plenty of other subgenres, but I feel like I've been talking for a long time.
That is quite all right, because you are a wealth of information. So I thought of a subgenre that also probably doesn't get talked about. And one thing I wanted to add, you were talking about historical. You could also take historical and put in any of those other things, a lot of those other things that you talked about, and sort of mix the two. Like not only could it be historical from a million different time frames, it could also be a historical cozy or a historical thriller or a historical I don't know, police procedural, you know what I'm saying? So so that's pretty cool. So one thing
that's true, Elizabeth,
have
for
been,
a lot of Sorry, that's true for a lot of genres, and that's becoming quite popular now. It's called genre blending. So you could actually pick up a book and think you're reading a cozy, but what you're actually reading is like a paranormal cozy, or you could be reading, a paranormal historical. Blending those genres is becoming quite popular.
Yeah. So I haven't read these, but well, let me show you. Hang on, I've left them back here out of reach. Am I? Oh, sorry. Am I okay? I thought for a minute that I was muted. So I read a lot, not as much as I want to, but I read a good deal. I collect a good deal of Christian fiction, and there are Christian mysteries. So that's a subgenre, and a lot of times it can be a subgenre of a subgenre. So I have, and they're not necessarily cozy. So Guidepost does a lot of Christian cozy mysteries, and I've collected all of those, and I've read some, like quilting and just different things like that. But there are a few that have been around a while, and also some that are newer that I was just gonna. So this is also kind of transitioning into us recommending. So for those of you guys out there watching, what I had asked the host, if once we started kind of going over all the subgenres, then if everybody wanted to recommend books from their particular expertise of subgenres. So one series that I have read from, that I've talked about on my channel, is by Gilbert Morris. And these I would not consider cozy, but they are Christian. This is book one and book one of the same series, just two different publishers and two different titles, but they're the same book. And it's the Danny or Danielle Ross mysteries. And these are basically Danny and her. Well, she is a professional detective. She took over the. Her father is not dead, but he is not at work, so she took over his detective agency, and then hired an associate. He's kind of the muscle of the operation, and they both are kidnapped and are being held in a silo with all these other people, and somebody they have no idea who he is or why they would kidnap this particular group of people keeps coming on. They have this one little like camera, what am I trying to say, monitor, comes on like once a day, and he tells them, you know why you're here, you know what you did, you know why you're here. And they're like, we don't know why we're here. And so she's immediately like interviewing everybody else in the silo, trying to figure out what the connection is, and trying to get to the bottom of the mystery. So that's how that series starts. But then another series that I got from the publisher that I haven't even read yet, but I want to soon, is by Kim Vogel Sawyer. And this is a mystery series, a Christian mystery series that is contemporary, I believe. Unveiling the Past is the second one. Bringing Maggie Home is the first one. And I'll let you know more about these later. But I just thought, since hardly anybody ever talks about Christian mysteries, that I would just bring that up as a subgenre. So, oh, you know what? And while I have the floor, I didn't tell my TBR of what I'm reading this week. So I am reading historical mysteries. I am going to listen to 3 or 4. Oh, there's Milo. I'm going to read 3 or 4 books in the Amelia Peabody series by Elizabeth Peters. This is book 4, I think. 5. I think this is book 5, Deeds of the Disturber. I don't have 6 and 7 checked out from the library. I do have book 8 checked out. It's the hippopotamus pool, but I guess I forgot to bring it in here. So that's my main TBR. I might possibly also pick up a cozy either from the Hope Street Church Mysteries by Jennifer Stanley, or not this book, but the one I'm on in the Cat in the Stacks Mysteries. So both cozy. And this is a series I've read. I only have 3 left to read. So again, it would be a good recommendation from me to you if you want to pick up a cozy mystery. The Cat in the Stacks series is very good, very enjoyable. It's library related. The main character, it's unique because the main character is a male, and it's also written by a male, even though his pen name is Miranda James. It's really Dean James, and he's a librarian. So that's cool. All right, so let's go around, and if anybody wants to give recommendations in any any subgenres. Since Emily's got a cat in front of the camera, Emily, do you have any cat themed mysteries you want to recommend? You're still muted.
All right. Sorry, she's all up in my business. I mean, if I'm being honest, I don't really read cat mysteries. They're not really my thing. I have read the first book in the Miranda James mystery series, but that's about it. And then I tend to read like what's that one? Bailey Cates. She has the Magical Bakery mystery series, and there's a cat in that one. And so I've read 2 of those, but no, honestly, I don't tend to read cat mysteries that much and it's
I know,
mostly
I put you on
because.
the spot. But now tell us what kind of mysteries you normally read, and give us some recommendations.
So I think we talked about this before, but I actually don't okay. So obviously historical mysteries. If I had to pick a particular subgenre, I'd say that one. But I don't tend to favor one subgenre over the other. I tend to look at the plot based on the blurb or what people say about it. I will say that I like police procedurals and Tana French. I mentioned her earlier. Hers are police procedurals. And I did a video in March, during March Mystery Madness, talking about why I read mysteries. And I sort of mentioned the fact that I like realistic mysteries. So I like things where I feel like it could actually happen. And cozies, a lot of times, it's the same amateur sleuth comes across multiple murders, and you're kind of most people don't even get one murder, much less multiple murders. So that's why I don't. I mean, I'll read cozies, but they're definitely not my go-to genre. So I'd say my go-to genres are historical mysteries, and then police procedurals, and I'm sure there's other ones. So for historical mysteries, I'm going to recommend the Jane Austen mysteries by Stephanie Barron. And those are all featuring Jane Austen as an amateur sleuth. And it starts when she's writing, I can't remember which one it is. She's writing one of her books, and she's living in Bath, and then it goes throughout her whole life up until a couple of years before her death. And there's 12 of them or 13 of them, and 2019, think it was, I did a project where I read one every month for a whole year, and I read them all. And that's like about the only series of books where I've read all of the mysteries besides like Todd French. Because most of the time, what happens is I read one or two or three, and then I get annoyed that the same person is finding all these mysteries, and then I quit reading it. So my recommendations are Todd French, um, Jane Austen mysteries, and I also really enjoyed The Widows of Malabar Hill by Susanna Massey, which is, and I the second one, which is it's called the Parveen Mystery Series, and Parveen is a lawyer in 1920 Bombay, and it's all about her solving these mysteries. And what makes it unique is because at that time, women, like men, couldn't really talk to women in certain households because of their religious rules. And so she could go into the women's section of the house and get information about murders that male detectives can't get because they can't talk to the women. So I would recommend Parveen Mystery if you're interested in historical mysteries too.
What is the name of that again? Who's the author and what's the series again?
It's called, so the author is Susanna Massey, and it's Sujata and then Massey, Massey, and it's called The Parveen and then Mystery. And so Mystery is actually her last name, but it's spelled Misty. So I don't know why
Okay.
she gave her character the last name Mystery when it's a mystery series. But
Why not?
I don't know. But yeah, I
So
really enjoyed
what's the
those.
tone of it? Is it gritty or is it more cozy or I mean
Yeah, I mean it is. I mean there is obviously there's murder, but there's murder in cozies. No, I'd say it's pretty um, cozy. But I will say in the first one, in particular, she talks a lot about like the conditions of India at large. And for example, she talks about so at that time in India, when women were on their menstrual cycle, they had to go stay in a hut by themselves in certain areas of India. And so in the book, one of the people she talks to has to go stay in a hut, and she goes to the hut and talks to the person. And so there's a lot of not a lot, but like there's discussion about how that's not good because like
huh.
obviously it affects the woman's ability to progress in society. They have to go live in a hut for a week every month. So
Interesting.
there's
I've got a series on my shelf of some Indian mysteries, the Vish Puri mysteries. I don't know if I'm saying that correct. By it's either Tarquin Hall or Tarkeen Hall. Have you guys ever heard of those? It I would have not ever really thought about it, but I ran into the third book in the series at a library book sale, and I couldn't resist the title because it's called "The Case of the Deadly Butter Chicken" or something like that. And I was like, I can't pass that up. So eventually I found the first two, but I haven't started reading them yet. But I think though they are set in India. So it's interesting. Yeah. I want to look those up because that sounds really fascinating. Before Di and Janelle give us some recommendations, I want to catch up with the chat and see what people are reading. So Sophia says I'm reading the is it Langslow series for my SAS list, but Emily's book sounds really good. So yeah, I was going to ask about Emily's. I was going to look those up too. But in case anyone doesn't know what SAS is, that's a challenge that I started at the beginning of the year. It's called Serious About Series. And a couple months into the year, I guess after March Mystery Madness got going, and then the Discord group, Killing Time with Cozies, got started. Ro or Tiffany or somebody, I guess it was probably Ro because she's part of my Goodreads group, she started promoting SAS to the Discord group, and so now they're all doing it, and so they'll be doing videos. They're talking about their SAS list, and someone will invariably comment, "What is SAS?" And it's serious about series, and it's basically a challenge to to make progress and get serious about the series that you're reading. And my goal personally was to finish 21 series this year, and I picked the 21 series that I was most likely to finish or closest to finishing, and so far I'm on track. I've finished probably at least 11 or 12, so I'm doing good, and I've made progress in some of the others. So anyway, so that's cool. You are Sophia, you are combining, you're knocking off stuff off your SAS list and participating in this as well. So here's Jen. She says she's having issues with StreamYard. I'm so sorry, Jen. Oh, and here's Alicia. Let me add her in. Hello, welcome. Hello. Well, I am just going through the chat because I got behind. So we'll come back and let you introduce yourself in just a second. But while I'm thinking about it. So Rose says she's on book 2 now of is that the Candy Shop series, Candy Apple Dead? Tiffany says Sammy Carter, really fun. So I forgot which is that the Candy Shop? Is that what she's talking about there? And Leanne says one of the subgenre mysteries she's going to read is The Four Dead Queens by Astrid. Is it Schultz or Schulte? It's a fantasy mystery. We didn't really talk about that. I mean, Janelle mentioned that there's like a lot of varieties of, paranormal or supernatural, and there's fantasy mysteries, there's sci-fi mysteries, there's all kinds of stuff. Oh, hi, Naomi. Naomi's here. She is reading Cat Among the Pigeons and Trace of Doubt. What are those from the same series? Does anybody know, Naomi? Or I don't know how far behind I am in the chat. So by the time you answer that, or by the time I get to your answer, I will have forgotten what the question was. Cheryl says she forgot about doing subgenre. It doesn't matter. That was just the challenge. Instead of prompts, we just did the challenge. Storm says, I love historical mysteries. Leanne says, you could probably get a ton of recs from Janelle. Yeah. If anybody out there is not subscribed to Janelle or anyone here, be sure you subscribe. And also, while I'm thinking about it, Emily is going to be hosting the wrap-up video. Is it going to be on Saturday or Sunday of next week, or the end of this week?
It's Sunday night. It's 7:30 Central, which is 8:30 Eastern.
Okay.
And that's because I have to work both Saturday and Sunday, so I have to do it at night. So it's Sunday night, 7:30 Central. And
You must work at a
be there.
You must work at a big library if it's open on Sunday.
Yes, ma'am. We're open 7 days a week, but I only have to work every 5th Sunday, so it's not all the time. It's just, and then it's nice because I get a day off during the week. So like next week I'll get Tuesday off, so I'll have a random Tuesday to do whatever. So yeah.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, in our county, there's only one library that's open on Sunday. It's the biggest one in like the biggest town in our county. And even that is only limited. It's like noon to 4 or something like that. So it's or noon to 5 maybe. So I'm just going down through here. Julie Ann says she loves historical mysteries set in the Victorian era, 20s, 30s, and 40s. Naomi says she might throw in a historical. Yeah, Tiffany says cozies. If you want to know all about cozies, join the Discord group, Killing Time with Cozies, and Tiffany's channel. She has interviewed like every cozy mystery author there is on her channel, and does new releases every month and all of that. All right, so Cheryl says, I think I'm going to listen to a historical cozy mystery audiobook. Have you picked it out, Cheryl? Do you know what you're going to read? So yeah, and Cheryl, that was the challenge, was to find something that you don't normally read. Okay, so earlier I asked about the difference between pulp and hard-boiled, and Jen says pulp has the exploitation elements. Okay. And she says, so 30s, but also 70s. So it doesn't have to be 30s. Cheryl says, T.E. Kinsey has some cozies taking place in 1910. So I think I'll listen to one of them. Okay, awesome. Oh, here we go. This is something different. Julianne Marshall says, if I have time, I might read a Japanese cult classic mystery. How do you say that? Decagon or Decagon? Decagon
I think
House?
it's Decagon.
Okay.
Funny enough, I had just seen somebody do an arc review of a manga for this story. I didn't know that it was. I didn't know that it was based on an actual novel. So the manga sounded interesting to me. So now I might have to go check that one out myself.
That's interesting because I just heard someone talk about this book too, and I've been trying to remember who it was. I watched their video. Anyway, I've just gotten it out from the library, so I'll be reading that one soon too.
Julianne, do you have a channel? Do you do videos? Let us know. All right. So, Jen says, a great genre blend series is D.B. Jackson's Thief Taker series. It's an urban fantasy historical mystery series. Okay, wow. Yeah, that's a big, that's a mashup, urban fantasy and historical. Wow. Awesome. Okay. Yeah. Jen always is like, she's like the queen of knowing the obscure things that are just like mind blowing. Awesome. Translated mystery, can a translated mystery be a subgenre? In my world, it can. I mean, anything that's different. I mean, it may not be an official subgenre, but it's definitely a category. So I think so. Oh, Cheryl says she loves Danny Ross. Read them back in the day. Yeah, these are old. Like this is, I think, from the 90s. This is the second edition, and then the other edition, I think, is from the 80s or early 90s. Maybe one's early 90s and one's later 90s, something like that. Have the Amelia Peabody series on audio, but yes, I'm going to listen to them on audio. I've already listened to the first few on Hoopla, and that's how I will consume the rest. She says, I haven't quite decided what to read. Oh, this must have been when Milo came up. She said, cat. So Donna says, I am recently loving mystery set in India, both historical and contemporary. Donna, have you ever heard of the Vishpuri mysteries? And if so, do you know how to pronounce the author's name? Is it Tarquin or Tarkeen? I don't know. Julie says the Baby Ganesh mysteries are set in India. Okay, so there's probably more than I have ever even heard of. Donna says, cat mysteries I'm reading this year. The Cat Who series. Yes, that's awesome. I've read all of those by Lily Jackson Braun. Mrs. Murphy series by Rita Mae Brown. I have not started those. And Cats in Trouble series by Leanne Sweeney. I have read one of those, and I have a few on my shelf. So, yeah, Donna is, she's very much knowledgeable of, like, all things books, all things. And if this is the cool thing about Donna. If she doesn't know, she'll go look it up. Like if I mention something in a video, before I have a chance to even go and verify it myself, she's already commenting to me, yeah, I looked it up and it's this and this and this. And I'm like, hey, that's awesome. Thank you. So Berna says she's low-key participating in SAS. Awesome. Thank you so much. Yeah, no, Tiffany, you're not low-key participating. You're all in. I know you are. So Naomi says, Cat Among the Pigeons is a Christie. Oh, okay. Trace of Doubt is a Christian arc that I'm behind on. Okay, so it's a new one then, Trace of Doubt. Who is it by? That's cool. All right. Donna says, Julianne Marshall, love Baby Ganesh. And so she was talking to you guys. Thanks, Janelle, for turning me onto the series. Awesome. And Breezy Ann says, I would love to try a medieval historical mystery. And well, that's too bad. You don't have a channel. You just watch everybody get loads of recommendations. Awesome. Well, if you ever decide you want to start a channel, let us know. All right, I am finally caught up. So let me mute myself. And Alicia, so to catch up, introduce yourself and then also tell your TBR. And also any recommendations that you want to give us from your favorite subgenres or subgenres that you frequently read from.
Okay, my name is Alicia, and my channel name is Pretty Brown Eye Reader, and I am active on YouTube as well as Instagram. And both the channel name, the handle is the same on both. I only have one book on my TBR for this week, and that is a YA mystery, and it's by Tiffany D. Jackson, and it's Monday's Not Coming, and it's about a young girl who disappears in DC and what happened to try and figure out where is she coming back. So, and the character's name is Monday, so that's why the title of the novel is that. And as far as recommendations for mysteries, I have really been into thrillers this year. And so I did have two. The first one is this one, Runner, and it's by Tracy Clark. And it's set in Chicago, and it's about, I'm about to have a theme. This is about a teenage runaway in Chicago. And it is about a private detective named Cass Rains, who is charged with trying to find this runaway. So that's that thriller. And then I had this other one that I recently read, The Night We Burned by S.F. Kosa. And it is about a cult and members of the cult. Some of them burn in a fire, but some escape. But the ones that escape, they eventually start dying. So someone that was involved with the cult is trying to kill the survivors. And so it was really good. So those are two recommendations I have that are in the thriller genre. But I'm reading YA for the subgenre September.
Cool.
Did I answer everything?
There, I had to get my mouse back over to the unmute. Yeah, I don't think anybody's even thought about YA mysteries, so that's awesome. Good for you. What was the name of yours again? Something about Monday?
Monday's Not Coming, and it's by Tiffany D. Jackson. I have it on Kindle, so I don't have it. It doesn't show well on screen.
Oh, okay, I was going to look that up while I'm thinking about it. So awesome. So Amber just got here. Yay. She said, I can't believe I missed y'all. It's all right. We've just been chatting, Amber. Let us know in the chat what you are reading for this week. Are you reading any mysteries this week? And if so, what subgenres? It could be a subgenre that you don't usually read, or be one that you read all the time. It doesn't really matter. So Naomi answered my question. Diane Mills is the author of Trace of Doubt. I think I either own a couple of books by Diane Mills, or I think I've read some of her short stories. So Cheryl says, just up to Alicia. Awesome. Thank you. Very cool. And Cheryl also says, you are reading a YA thriller this week for a buddy read called The Cabin by Natasha Preston. So that counts. Yeah. It's definitely, thrillers aren't normally what a lot of people think of as mysteries, because a lot of times you already know who the killer is, but they're still crime fiction. So I think it counts. All right. Everybody didn't get to give their recommendations yet. Who still hasn't? Janelle hasn't, and is it Di?
Mm-hmm.
You give yours yet?
Di hasn't.
And Emily, did you give yours? Okay. All right, Janelle, you want to go next?
Sure. So I pulled some books off my shelves just before this live video, and I had to stop myself. Otherwise, I would be surrounded by books right now, because I always recommend too many books. But anyways, so here are some recommendations for historical mysteries if you want to try a historical subgenre. This is The Apothecary Rose by Candace Robb. This is historical mystery set in England in the 1300s. This is actually 1363. It's up in York. So it's a great old medieval city. So good descriptions, good atmosphere. And he used to be, the main character is Welsh, and he was a captain of the archers during the wars. England was at war with France at the time. And he lost an eye in the battle, and so he can't be an archer anymore. And so he ends up working for kind of a high up person, like being like a spy kind of thing. And so he's a good character, and this is a great series. This is the first one. This is The Apothecary Rose. I also really like the Elizabeth Peters series, the Amelia Peabody series. Elizabeth talked about this. So these are historical mysteries set in Egypt primarily, and they start in the Victorian time period, but as far as the series go, it really jumps ahead in time, so that by the end of the series, I think we're up to like the 1920s. So it's got a good range of time periods. If you kind of want a little bit of a mixture there, this could be a series for you. It's also, I would call it a cozy historical mystery series. It's definitely funny. I find them funny. So if you're looking for lighthearted or humorous historicals, this could be a good one for you.
And
This
before
is
you get off of that subject, isn't her son just the most hilarious, over the top character? Like in
yes,
his
her
when
son
he's
Ramses.
yeah.
Yeah, he is hilarious. Really very funny. I actually find them all, all the characters are really funny. Like Amelia herself and her husband, Emerson is, yeah, like he's like the gruff guy who wants to think he's big and tough, but he's just a teddy bear, right?
Yeah, yeah.
But he does like to like stomp around a bit sometimes,
Yeah.
But yeah, they're all pretty
Ramsey
funny.
just cracks me up. And I don't know how much he grows, because you said it goes through quite a few years. So like right now where I am still in his early years, he's maybe only like 5, but he already like knows, I think he knows Latin, and he knows all these 5 languages and all this stuff. It's just so unrealistic, but it's just hilarious to hear him.
Yeah, no, you get to see him grow right up and get married and everything in the series. So that's the other thing that's fun about it too, is that you get so much of their life. I like that of the part of the series. Yeah.
Awesome.
Okay, and so this is Murder on Astor Place by Victoria Thompson. This is a long series, but this one is set in New York in it's called a Gaslight series, a Gaslight Mysteries. So late 1800s, New York City, and she's a midwife, which is that's an interesting character. And then she meets, in this first book, she meets a police officer on the force. He's an Irish immigrant. So you get a lot of really interesting historical things happening, like how Irish people were treated in New York at the time, or his experience on the police force as an Irish person, but also her as a midwife. She gets to go into all kinds of different areas in the city. So you get all kind of different strata of society and find out what's going on with everybody. So this is a really interesting series. I quite enjoy that one too.
Di and I read that for our Book One Cozies Club several years ago, and I don't know, did you like it, Di? I don't remember.
It's definitely not something I usually gravitate towards. It was a lot darker than I had expected.
Yeah. I wouldn't call it a cozy.
That part didn't bother me. I think it bothered Elizabeth more because she wasn't expecting that dark like undertone to that story.
Yeah.
But it is a story that I want to explore a little bit more. And I think it's Stormy from Stormy Reads. I think it's one of her favorite series. We were talking about it in the Discord a little bit.
Oh, okay. Awesome.
It's a good point you just brought up, because you said you read it for Book One Cozies, and I've come to realize that it is really important that you kind of understand what you're about to read before you read it, because your expectations going into a mystery will really color your experience. So if you're expecting a cozy and you get something else, even though this isn't full of gore and violence, but it's not a cozy. And so when you come into it with that expectation and it's not what you're expecting, you can end up saying that you didn't like the book. But if you had read it at a different point in time thinking this isn't a cozy, this is something different, then you may actually end up liking it more. So it is like, you really do need to maybe make sure you know what you're reading before you read it, because your expectations will definitely color your experience.
Right.
Yeah. Well, for me, that one, the historical aspect it's not something that I usually go for.
Mm-hmm.
So that was kind of
yeah.
But I'll read a couple more before I decide on that one myself.
Yeah, and fair enough.
The whole reason, as I recall, the reason that Di started Book One Cozies Club was because she had all of these mysteries on her shelf or on her TBR that she wanted to try. And so she's like, well, why don't I just start a club? And so you know, she just like threw everything in a hat and started drawing them out. And so, you know, not necessarily was, I mean, I think she even knows that not everything necessarily was super cozy, but they were just all mysteries that she wanted to try. And, you know, the majority were cozy. So, you know, it seemed like a good name.
The thing that put them in the jar was that it had an amateur sleuth.
Right.
Okay.
So that was kind of the theme going into the jar.
Yeah.
So Storm says Gaslight series is one of my favorites. She's up to book 14 or 15, and it's on her sass list. Yeah, Storm, before you got here, I was just explaining to anybody who didn't know what sass was. And just before that, Amber says Chocolate Chip Cookie Murder and Hooked on Murder, the crochet mystery #1. Okay, cool. Is that the one by Betty Hechtman, Hooked on Murder? Because I know there's more than one crochet mystery. I've read the first Betty Hechtman one, but I don't know if that's it or not. I hear an echo
I didn't
again.
know what sass
I think that is the Betty Hechtman series.
Could be.
Though I haven't read it yet. As much as I knit and crochet, I haven't read any knitting or crochet cozies.
You haven't? I know, and I would think that that would be the one you would read. I mean, not one, but, you know, you would pick those. Are they in your jar to choose from?
Yes.
You just
Yes, they are.
All right, good. So here's someone else from the Discord group, Killing It with Cozies, or Killing Time with Cozies. Jessa, welcome. I'm looking to see if we missed anybody. Melinda, she said she accidentally sent half with your comment. I missed your first one. H up on SAS and get some challenges done. Awesome. Thank you. Let's see. Did I get yours, Tiffany? Oh yeah, I forgot to come back and see this one. This series name just sounds great to me. Tiffany's been reading the Secret Granny Cozy Mysteries. Tiffany always says that she loves any books with like older people as the main characters, like as the protagonist, you know, like senior citizens and stuff. So Secret Granny, right up her alley. That's awesome. All right, so let me scroll back down. Yeah, Julianne, me too. Ramsey's is hilarious. What else? Jen says it can be challenging to define the space in between cozy and full blood guts and spinal cord sometimes.
Yeah.
There's lots of overlaps, definitely. So Julianne picked up the Apothecary Rose due to Janelle. Awesome. Janelle, does it ever make you nervous if somebody comes back and says, "Yeah, I'm reading this because you said to," and then you're like, "Oh, I hope you like it."
I do. I feel the pressure. But I also realize everybody is so different. And so, you know, you like some and you don't like some, and that's okay. And I figure if I'm going to have a booktube channel, I have to recognize people aren't necessarily going to like all the books I recommend. And that's okay. That's okay with me. As long as they don't spend like $40 on a book and then they hate it, then I would feel really bad.
I know. This is not mystery related, but I'm always talking about Miss Julia, which a lot of people seem to think is a cozy mystery. It's really not. It's just humorous fiction. But I was scrolling through Goodreads one time on one of the Miss Julia books. Maybe it was the first one. And one of the people I'm Goodreads friends with had like just kind of given it a bad review and like, oh, it was just, you know, this and this. And so I commented back. I was like, oh, you're breaking my heart. And they're like, oh, Elizabeth, I was hoping you wouldn't see that.
Yeah.
So anyway, I'm like, no, I get it. You know, it's not for everyone. All right. So Donna says historical mystery series set in Egypt I have on my shelf. Oh goodness, I don't know if I can pronounce that. Is it Mamur Zapt? 1900 Cairo Loosening of Imperial World by England by Michael Pierce. 19 books published between 1988 and 2017. Wow.
That sounds good.
And I have never heard of those.
Me neither.
Here, I have a dog over here who is like, "Roar, roar, I want to go out." This is Bob. And yet if I tried to get him to get up here on camera, he won't do it. And I said I would show you the kitten too. I think Gaslight is gritty cozy. Now, isn't that an oxymoron? Gritty cozy. Listen, I read a lot of mysteries. Julianne says the Thursday Murder Club has old people as the amateur sleuths. Okay, awesome. Is that?
That's a great one.
Who's that by? Who's the author of that?
Richard Osman.
I'm
Yeah,
not sure if you know if she's
it's actually set at a retirement home. It's pretty good. It's pretty funny,
Oh,
actually.
fun.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right. Berna says, I am enjoying the discussion very much, but it's past midnight and I must go to bed. Oh, Berna, thank you for hanging out this long.
Good night,
Bless your heart.
Berna.
Thank you so much. Yes. Everybody go check out Berna's channel if you have not. Oh, no, I love that you said old people. That's totally fine. As being the oldest one here, I'm fine with that. Oh my goodness, that's awesome. Okay, where did we get to?
I have a few more
Oh no,
recommendations, if that's
I'm so
okay.
sorry. Yes, I'm so sorry. While you're doing that, I'm gonna go get the kitten. Okay, so I'll be right
Okay.
back.
All right. So this is still historical. This is probably my favorite historical mystery series of all time. This is the Sebastian St. Cyr series by C.S. Harris. This is the first one, What Angels Fear. This one is set in Regency era England, so early 1800s, 1811, this first one. And he's the son of a earl, so he's like a high up kind of a guy. But they're very well written. The mysteries are always really intriguing, and the characters are just great in this series. And another one that I really like is A Test of Wills. This is the Ian Rutledge series by Charles Todd. This is a mother-son writing team, actually. And these are set in 1920. The first book is actually 1919, so it's immediately following World War I. And the main character is a detective. He's a detective inspector who fought in the war, and he's back now, and he's back as a police officer, as a detective, but he's brought back the trauma of World War I with him, but he has to hide it, because if his senior officers know that he's experiencing what we now call PTSD, at the time they called it shell shock, then he would get fired because he would be considered unreliable. So he has to hide the trauma and how it manifests itself for him. So these are really well written. The characters are just fascinating in this series. I really enjoy the Ian Rutledge series. And then just a couple more historicals. This one is a historical cozy, the Royal Spinous series by Rhys Bowen, set in the 30s. She's Georgiana Rannoch. She's 34th in line to the throne. But of course, like a lot of people in her class, they have title and land, but no money whatsoever. So she goes to England and ends up getting a job cleaning people's houses, but she has to keep it from her family because they would be horrified to know that she was cleaning houses. And so she's an amateur sleuth. These ones are quite amusing. This is a great series from the Tudor era. I call them the Face Down series, by Kathy Lynn Emerson. The first one, Face Down in the Marrowbone Pie. The main character is, I've just forgotten her name. It doesn't matter, but she's just a woman who's like, she's married to a sir, so like someone high up in the aristocracy or whatever, and so they're kind of amateur sleuth ones set in Elizabethan time period, and then A Conspiracy of Violence by Susanna Gregory. This one is the first in the Thomas Chalner series, and I like this time period because this one's a bit different. This is actually in the Restoration. So after the Civil War in England, where they beheaded King Charles I, the Civil War is over. His son has come back. King Charles II is back on the throne. It's the restoration to the throne. So that time period is fascinating. So this is a really great series. Again, really well written, atmospheric, really interesting time period for me anyways. And then this one I love because this one, Agatha Christie is the main character in this series. And so this one is actually set in the 20s. A Talent for Murder. This is the first one by Andrew Wilson. And this is set during the 10 days when she goes missing. So that's historically accurate. Agatha Christie went missing for 10 days. And in this book, he kind of imagines what actually happened to her during those 10 days. And it's nowhere near the truth, but boy, is it a lot of fun. Okay, and then one final one. This is Martyr by Rory Clemens. This is also a Tudor era mystery. The main character is John Shakespeare, and he is William Shakespeare's cousin, I think. And so this one, he is basically a spy, or at the time they called them intelligencers, something like that. So this one gets a little more kind of in that spy world of the time period. And again, this one is great. So that's all for historicals, but I have a few other recommendations from other subgenres. I would call this one a thriller, I think. Sharon Bolton. I really like Sharon Bolton. And this is a standalone book. It's called Dead Woman Walking. And there are 13 people in a hot air balloon. And they're like, floating over, I think they're somewhere in the north of England. And they see a man kill a woman. And so there's 13 witnesses on this hot air balloon. And so he sees that they saw what he did and he starts shooting at them. He shoots down the hot air balloon. And kind of by the end of chapter 1, there is one survivor, the dead woman walking. One woman survives, and she's basically on the run from this guy who is trying to get all of the witnesses to what he did. And so this one is like, the tension is so high in this one right from the very beginning. So because she's on the run, but she's also on the run from the police because she figures if she lets the police talk to her or whatever, then this guy will catch her. So she's on the run from everybody basically, but you're also in the meanwhile trying to figure out, why did this guy kill this woman? And is she going to be able to keep herself alive? Like, it's great. So if you like that kind of like high tension, high suspense, this one is really entertaining. And then I've got just a couple in the Golden Age. If you want to try some Golden Age, this is Christiana Brand. She just wrote a few books in that time period. So like, think of like Agatha Christie time period. A lot of people have never heard of Christiana Brand, but her books are fantastic. And this is actually one that she wrote in the 40s. And so this is set in a military hospital during World War II. In England, and someone is killed. So someone they're doing a surgery, and the person dies under the anesthetic, but then the nurse who was in the room for the surgery gets murdered. And so it's kind of like a closed circle because it could only be so many people who did it. So that one was really entertaining. So check out Christiana Brand. An English Murder by Cyril Hare. This one's from 1950, I think. Cyril Hare is a great Golden Age guy that doesn't get talked a lot about, I think. And then Carter Dixon. This one is Death in 5 Boxes. He writes a lot of, I would call them locked room mysteries. So you get in a locked room. So this isn't necessarily a subgenre. I guess locked room is more of a trope, but like you get a dead body in a room and you can't figure out how did the killer get in and out of that room, right? Like it's locked somehow or whatever. And Carter Dixon is kind of a classic in that genre. If you like locked room mysteries, check out Carter Dixon. And then of course I can't not recommend Agatha Christie. I love Agatha Christie. She is the queen of crime for a reason, right? And then just a couple more. If you're looking for traditional, and this one, I would say this one kind of like, what's the word I'm looking for? It kind of, I think this is one of those series that takes the traditional subgenre and kind of blends it, or like to when cozies start. Like, I don't know when really that cozy subgenre started, but like I would put this kind of right there between traditional mystery and cozy mysteries, because it's amateur sleuth for sure. This is Miss Seaton. So this is Picture Miss Seaton by Heron Carvick. This was actually from 1969. He wrote a few, and then 2 other authors picked up the series and kept writing in the series. She's a retired art teacher. And so if you like, we were talking about that someone liked older older amateur sleuths, that's Miss Seaton. She's fantastic. She is fearless. She always has her umbrella with her, and she puts it to very good use with the bad people. But she's great. So she's a retired art teacher. And so in the first book, she witnesses the crime. And so when she's talking to the police, she realizes that it's easier for herself to just draw what she saw than to try and explain what she saw. So that happens quite a lot. She'll draw what she saw or draw crime scenes. And then what ends up happening is like what she's thinking about what happens ends up coming out in what she draws as well. So it ends up being extra clues in there for the police as they investigate. But this is a really entertaining series, Miss Seaton.
I've heard you talk a lot about Miss Seaton, and one of these days I'm going to have to pick one up because this is probably the 5th time I've heard you talk about her, if not more.
Oh,
so
yeah.
I'm definitely going to have to look her up.
They're really fun and quite funny. Like I laughed out loud probably 3 or 4 times when I was reading this one. It was pretty funny.
Honestly, my favorite book if it makes me laugh. I love to laugh.
This is a cozy too. This is MC Beaton's Agatha Raisin series. So the first one is the Quiche of Death. She's a PR person in the city and then decides to retire and moves to a small village. And then of course, investigates murder, sticks her nose in as they say. And then if you are looking for police procedurals, I know Emily was saying she really likes police procedurals. So I've got just a couple here that don't get talked about very often. This is Patricia Moyes, and she writes the Inspector Henry Tibbet series. She wrote these, however, I think in the 70s and the 80s, which is probably why they're not talked about very, very much anymore. But he's a great character because these are from before the era when your police detective has to be a drunk who is like constantly considering killing himself. Do you know what I mean? Like that, like the detective who is always like so conflicted. It's before that. So he's got a wife that he loves and a family, and he's just a good detective, right? So there's not all the other stuff that is kind of often quite popular in police procedurals. So he's just a really good, solid detective. And her Patricia Moyes mysteries are always really interesting. I like this one because I think the title is fantastic. Season of Snows and Sins. It's awesome. Plus, this cover is great. So him and his wife are on holiday in the Alps, and there's a murder. And of course, because he's on the scene, he gets himself involved investigating as well. Also, it's hilarious because this one was written in the 70s, and I could just picture everybody with like their bell-bottom pants and which I just thought was very entertaining. And then finally, this is the Inspector Morse series by Colin Dexter. This is the first one, Last Bus to Woodstock. These were also written in the 80s. And Inspector Morse, I would say he's maybe a little bit conflicted, but he's not as bad as the rest of them. He's a guy who likes to do his own thing without too much interference from his superior officers. And he just enjoys, classical music and smoking his cigar. And I think he probably does tend to drink an awful lot. So there's something to be said. Like there's a lot of those kind of mysteries, right? With that kind of detective who's like, a bit silent and grumpy and whatever. But these are set in Oxford, which is one of the reasons why I love them so much. Oxford is a setting that I just really like for mysteries. And so, so a good police procedural is the Inspector Morse series. And that's it.
Well, you're talking about having like detectives who are, flawed. I would think that in real life, if you are someone who has to every day, day in and day out, deal with the dregs of society and people who are criminals, it would be pretty hard not to like find yourself in, needing some sort of a comfort chemical comfort or something. You know what I mean?
Mm.
Like I would think that that would
Yeah.
be hard. We just read a book in the Dave Robichaux series by James Lee Burke for my mystery book club this week, and I read the book we were supposed to read, but then I went back and tried to read the first one, and I only got halfway done, and I just DNF'd it because it was so depressing. Because
Yeah.
everybody he was interviewing was just, I don't know. It was just depressing, because he was just dealing with all the people were just sad and criminals and wannabe criminals, and I don't know. It was just, it was too gritty for me. But and you were talking about police procedurals, Emma and Emily. I always think of, like, have you read Inspector Gamache, Louise Penny? Have you read those? Because isn't that
I've read
detective?
I've
Yeah.
read the first one, but I've never gotten past the first one. But I need to, because I was just Janelle and I were talking about in one of her comment sections that they're putting on a new TV show
Mm-hmm.
with
Oh, okay.
Alfred Molina, and he's gonna be Gamache. So I need
Yeah.
to read more of them before it comes out. So that's
Yeah.
my cool.
And then the other one I think of is Elizabeth George, Inspector Lindley. Have you guys read
Ooh,
those?
yeah, that's a really
Yeah.
good one.
I
I've read
haven't
that
read
first one. Now that is gritty, but wow, is it
Yeah.
compelling? I mean, oh my goodness.
Yeah.
And I would like to read some more of that series too.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I hear myself echoing. So I have to. We haven't had let Di do her recommendations, but I got to tell you a funny thing that happened when Janelle was talking. So she was talking about one of the books, Dead Woman Walking, about the hot air balloon, and so I started looking it up, and you know how when you search something on Goodreads, let me turn this down. It'll give you like a list. So you probably can't see that. So here's a list. So I went to click on it, and my finger accidentally hit the next one down, but I didn't realize it till it came up, and it's Bubba and the Dead Woman. No idea. It's by C.L. Bevel, and the series is called Bubba Snoddy, Snoddy. So yeah, and there are apparently 12 books in the series.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, actually, there's 10 books in the series. So yeah, I'm just curious enough now to try to find that and just see what that's about. Anyway, so that's hilarious. Okay, so Di, did you have a chance to give us any recommendations? I can't remember.
I only usually give the same books over and over again.
It's okay. Tell us anyway.
Like, my favorite kind of cozy is Victoria Laurie's Ghost Hunter mystery series.
Mm.
Follows a psychic medium, and they kind of, as the series goes on, they kind of get into a show that's like Ghost Hunters, where they're going into places and trying to connect with the spirits and help them pass over and things like that. That's definitely one of my favorite series. I read one recently. I think it was released this year. It was the first book in the Avery Ayres mysteries. It's Ruby Red Herring by Tracy Gardner.
Mm.
And it's a cozy, and it follows a person who deals in antiques, and they get this antique into the museum, and she's working on it. Well, this antique was also worked on by her parents, she finds out a little later. And there's some sort of mystery that goes on involving her parents' death as well. And I really, really enjoyed that series. I didn't think that I was going to enjoy that series as a whole, just because I'm not really into antiques. I don't know very much about antiques. But this particular one dealt with gemstones, and I have an interest in gemstones. But after reading that one, I enjoyed the characters so much and their relationships with each other, because we also get a lot of family time with our main characters. So her aunt and her sister's like just graduating high school, getting ready to go into college, and she's auditioning for a music conservatory, which is also very something that I'm kind of familiar with, if you will. And so I will definitely be continuing on with that series. So I definitely want to recommend that series because it is new. And so I don't often get to recommend new stuff because I'm very much a backlist reader. But I actually would like to ask for some recommendations. I am looking for a really great haunted house mystery.
Ooh.
One that has a very high spook factor. I have asked so many people and I can't seem to get one.
Anybody out there
Any
in the
of
chat
you
have
know
one?
of a really great haunted house mystery that has a pretty high spook factor? Please let me know.
Well,
I don't have
go ahead.
I don't have a book recommendation, but I don't know. Do you follow the Shades of Orange? Her name is Rachel.
Yes, I
feel
do.
like she likes haunted house mysteries, and she might even have a video if you search in her backlist of videos. Because I think she likes haunted house mysteries. Well, anyway, that's the person I would recommend to go see if she's got any recommendations.
Yeah,
But
I've watched several of her videos, but I haven't heard of anything that has grabbed my interest.
Okay.
All right, so I was going back through. I missed. Let me catch back up with the chat. Richard Osman's new book is out next week in England. I don't know. Did someone mention a Richard Osman book? Because I missed
That's
that.
the one set in the retirement home.
Okay, awesome. So Janelle or Breezy says, yes, Janelle Sebastian St. Cyr, you definitely helped me pick that mystery for this week. Awesome.
Yeah, I actually have that one on my to-read list as well.
Ian Rutledge series is fabulous. That's what Jen says. Bookworm was just replying. That was Tiffany replying to Julianne. Donna says, another Egyptian mysteries on my shelf is, how do you say that? H-U-Y. Is it high? It's not a Huey. I don't know. Donna, how do you say that? The Scribe is 18th dynasty, not century, 18th dynasty. I'm not even going to try to say that. It's by Anton Gill, sixth book, 1991 to 1999. Awesome. Cool. Yes. Thank you, Donna, for all of your wealth of information. Loves Respo and Spinus series as well. I've only read the first one, but I definitely need to. Yes, people are echoing that. Royal Spinus is a good rec. All right. So Cheryl says the Molly Murphy series by Reese Bowen is a favorite of hers as well. So that's not the same as Spinus, right? That's a different one. I have not read any of those. Donna says, want to read Molly Murphy once I catch up with Royal Spinus. And my TBR just grew, Storm said. That was probably after when Danielle was talking. One of my favorite contemporary mystery series are the Kate Shugak novels by Dana Stabenow. I'm not familiar with any of that, but thank you for that.
Me neither.
Cheryl's Answering Storm. Comment on Mrs. Murphy series by Rita Mae Brown. Not only cats, people, what does it mean? Not only cat, does he mean like cat Oh, okay. Not only cats in the series, but a corgi dog, horses, an owl, possum, black snake, foxes, etc. So just animals all around. A bit more serious than a cozy, even with animals. Okay, awesome. And Breezy Ann says, I need 2 notebooks for all of Janelle's recommendations. I want to try. I know, right? Janelle, how many books per year do you read? Do you track it on Goodreads or anything?
Oh, I do. Oh, yeah. I have a notebook that I keep to, like an old school pen and paper. I read about 250 books a year.
Awesome.
Sometimes a little bit more. Yeah.
And even before you started tracking it, do you think you read to that level?
Probably. Yeah. Probably, yeah.
I didn't. I read a lot, but I didn't read nearly the amount that I do now. I wish I'd known about Goodreads then, but I think there's something about BookTube and Goodreads that propels me to read even more than I used to. So here is Inking Your Thinking, and I have forgotten her first name. So she has a channel. She's fairly new to BookTube. She says, how fun to catch this live. Oh, thank you so much. Yes, this is a mini March Mystery Madness. So that's another good M, a mini March Mystery Madness. We're calling it Mid-Year Mystery Madness or Subgenre September because we love alliterations. Yes, she says, Seton is fun. Another mystery with older amateur detectives is the Marlowe Murder Club by Robert Thoroughgood. He wrote the TV series and books Death in Paradise. Thank you so much, Julianne. You are also a wealth of information. So I have a friend kitten, which I will introduce y'all to in just a minute. He is like finishing up. He has just about downed a whole little can just since I came back and got him and sat down and opened it. He is ravenous. Cheryl says, just signed out the ebook Talent for Murder by Andrew Wilson. Oh, okay, so that was Janelle's recommendation. Yeah. So yeah, Janelle. So Donna says she has a Janelle TBR and an Elizabeth TBR. Thanks, Donna. Donna is such a good cheerleader and awesome person to read with, and she's always willing to give stuff a try that you recommend. Cheryl says, I put the first 2 books in Andrew Wilson series on hold at the library. Got the ebook of the first one. They sound so good. Had to stop myself at 2 books on hold. I know. Book reading is like going to the cafeteria for food. You don't know when to stop. You fill your plate and you get over full, and then you can't hold it all. That's the cafeteria of books is hard. So Julian says, as a British citizen, I should really read The Windsor Knot by S.J. Bennett because Her Majesty the Queen is the detective. Oh, that sounds fun. I did not know about that. So Julianne, you live in England and the UK? I did not know that. So what time is it there? It's probably getting late there too. Oh, you think you read Bubba and the Dead Woman? Oh, well, how was it? What did you think? That's awesome. And Donna says she loves gemstones too. Cheryl says, I have 26 books on hold at the library right now. That's awesome. Good job. Talking about
Cheryl, I think we're kindred spirits.
And you guys, I cannot believe this, but Janelle's library allows her to get 100 books at a time. That's just insane. And like my library is unlimited, but still when I get to about 20 or 30, I think, okay, I probably better taper off here. I can't even imagine having 100 checked out. So, wow.
I've gotten pretty close at times, actually. And usually it's the fault of BookTube. Like it's like for March Mystery Madness or something, and I'll end up with like all these books out. Some of them are for recommendation videos that I'm doing or whatever, but then I also get it in my head, oh, I'll be able to read all of these books. Which is delusional, of course.
Oh, yeah. So we should start winding down. If anybody out there wants to make a one last comment, I will go back through the last few comments in just a second. But before I forget, I want to make sure that we mention Emily's live stream at the end of the week. It'll be next Sunday to wrap up Mid-Year Mystery Madness and talk about what we read and what we enjoyed and what we did and all of that. And that's going to be on Emily's channel. So be sure you are subscribed to The Redhead is Reading. And be sure you're subscribed to everybody here as well as all the other hosts. There are a few other Mid-Year Mystery Madness hosts that couldn't make it today. And also Jen from Remembered Reads was here earlier and was having technical difficulties. So, but before I go, I wanted to introduce you to this little squirt that I have in my hand. Before I show you his most distinguishing feature right now, I'll tell you, my youngest daughter, Katie, works in a vet office. She's a veterinary assistant. And this little guy came in just a few days ago. Someone found him on a busy highway and he was injured, and it was Labor Day, actually. So it was not quite a week ago. And because they do have a budget for, being able to take care of strays. If someone brings in an animal and they can't pay for it, if it's not going to be over a certain amount, they will take it in sometimes and then adopt it out. But the regular doctors weren't there. It was a sub doctor because it was a holiday. And so they were just going to euthanize it. And Katie was there and she's like, hold on a minute, what's wrong? Is it that bad? And so they agreed to let her foster it. And, my husband is within hearing, but I will say out loud, we may end up keeping this one because he's adorable. But he does have some injuries. He has a skint lip, and his eye was bleeding, but that seems to be healing up. The main injury is his back leg. Katie was calling it road rash, but the skin it was skin almost down to the bone, and I don't really know what happened or how he got to this point, but we have to take him in every day to get it rebandaged, and the bandage just borders on hilarious because what's his foot?
Oh,
Huge.
that
I
poor
know, but
baby.
he gets around like nobody's business. He can walk and drag it around, and we still
Aw.
haven't decided on a name for him.
Poor
She was calling
baby.
him Biscuit, but that doesn't seem to make sense. She said the other day he was running through the house like a rocket, and I said, "Oh, let's call him Rocket. Maybe call him Rocky for short." He's a little boy. But if anybody has any name suggestions, we've been through all the typical names for a black cat, like Midnight and Shadow and Inky, and she doesn't want any of those. She wants something goofy like Chicken Nugget or something like that, but we haven't figured out a good name. So anyway, but yeah, this foot is it's too much. Anyway, he's a little squirt, and he's a lot of fun. And our dog Louie, Katie's dog Louie, just loves him. And thankfully, since this little guy is an orphan, he doesn't have a mother, so there's nobody to lick him and to clean him up. As soon as he finishes eating or whatever, Louie will just lick him, all over, and he loves it. He loves the attention, and so we kind of have to hold him back a little bit, because Louie just gets so excited that there's actually a cat that wants his attention, and he gets a little overbearing. But anyway, he's fun. So I'm going to put him down. And I did take a little bit of a video earlier of him running through the house, which I'll add to the next vlog that I do, so y'all can see him and see his progress. But Katie was needing a project because 4 years ago, I found a little kitten who was 3 weeks old on a 4-lane, just flopping around right near the median. I don't know if somebody dropped her off or how she got there, but she was blind, and I scooped her off the road, went to the vet, and she ended up living over 3 years. But then I let her out one morning, and she went and chased a squirrel across the street and got hit by a car. But anyway, she lived a happy life when she was here, and so lately, Katie, she's been, because she needed a project, when she's out driving, she said, I'm always scanning the roads, looking on the median, looking for kittens. So this one came to her in the vet office. But anyway, so I don't mean to ramble on about kittens, but anyway, Donna says, how about Little Squirt? I know. I thought about that because that's a name, what's that from Nemo had Squirt. So, all right, let's see if anybody said anything else that we need to join in or need to add. I don't know I'm not sure what you're referring to. We only get about 7.
I think she's talking about holes at her
Library
Oh,
holes,
in
I
the
think.
library. That's right.
Yeah.
It says 100 at a time. Wow, I know, it's crazy. Our library allows 50, and you thought that was a lot. I know, right? 2238. It's 2230. I can't remember much about Bubba. Oh, that's the time over there. Okay. Yes, because she's in the UK. All right. So Donna says, my favorite haunted house ghost story is The Uninvited by Dorothy McCardle, 1942. So it's historical, Di. Are you going to be able to handle that? Love the 1944 movie, The Uninvited.
I do try historicals. I
Okay.
have written that one down.
Okay, good.
Thanks for the recommendation.
Screenplay by Dodie Smith, author of I Captured the Castle. Okay. She says, thanks for hosting and feeding my mystery reading soul. Oh, you're welcome, Storm. Thanks for joining in. Oh, thank you, Cheryl. Appreciate all you guys being here. Hi. Oh, Sophia. Yes, Sophia is from the UK as well. Yes, Little Squirt. That's a good name. Thank you, everybody who commented about the kitten. Wendy Webb has some haunted houses with ghosts and mysteries.
And that one down too. Thank you.
I was thinking about a middle grade book that is mysterious. It's the what is it? By Jonathan Auxier. The some kind of gardener, haunted gardener, midnight gardener, the night gardener. That's just a creepy middle grade story, but as far as a middle grade mystery, I don't know. But there is some mystery in it, but I don't know if it ever actually. It's not like a run of the mill mystery. What about Hugo as a name? Okay, Hugo. Hugo. She was thinking about Bigfoot because of his big bang. Thank you, everybody. Yes, he's cute. One of my cats is named Goofy. Yes, very Disney. I don't think we'd be allowed to name him a Disney name around here, since we are a Disney family. Let's see. Oh, thanks, Tiffany. Lee says, thank you. This was a lot of fun. Cheryl says, roommate's cat is Kitty Bitty. We call my roommate's cat Kitty Bitty more than her real name. So what is her real name? Did you say that already up there somewhere else, Cheryl? I don't know if you said what her real name. I know, and that's the thing. You want to name them something that has a good nickname that goes with it, because invariably we will call them some kind of nickname. So I don't know.
I always
Everybody, any final words? Be sure to check out the live stream at the end of the week. Also, be sure to check out our Discord group, the Mystery Madness Discord group. Also, a lot of you guys are here from the Killing Time with Cozy's Discord group. So if you're not in that, be sure to join that. And if you're in Killing Time with Cozy's, be sure to join the Mystery Madness Goodreads group. And I said Goodreads group, Discord group. So sorry. We have a Goodreads group, and we have an Instagram that is March Mystery Madness _ all year. That's I think the title of it. And if you are posting on Instagram this week, and please do post on Instagram this week, I'll put the hashtag here in the description. Somebody remind me what it is. Is it MMM
subgenre sept, SEPT?
Yeah. So that is, and you can also just do the hashtag March Mystery Madness as well. So anything like that is great. So thank you, Jen, and thank you for being here. Oh, her real name is Bella. Okay. All right. Awesome. So I love the name Bigfoot. Yeah, anything. That's right, because you're a Bigfoot fan. Yeah. So anything I suggest, Katie's like, Mom, that's what everybody's pet is that, because she works in a vet office. So she hears all the names, all the pet names. So if I even remotely, if I mention anything remotely similar to anything, that anybody already has a pet named, then she vetoes it. She wants something completely unique that, nobody's ever used. So, anyway, so have I missed any other comments? So Charcoal, Char for short. Okay, yeah, that's cute. That's cute. That almost seems like more of a girl's name, Char. We could call him Charles. In fact, because our dogs are Bob and Louie is spelled Lewis, and so she was kind of, thinking of, it'd be kind of fun just to, like, an old man's name or something, like Herbert or something like that, but Charles. And I said, well, Charles was my dad's name. We can name him Charles, call him Charlie. So I don't know. We can go on for days about this. Okay, what time is it? It is, we've almost been here 2 hours, and I said we weren't going to go over an hour and a half. But yeah, Char is neat. Thank you so much for all the suggestions. I will run them past Katie. So thank you, everybody, for being here, all the guests and the co-hosts and everybody in the chat. Thanks for coming. I can't think of anything else, but just stay in touch, get on our Goodreads group. You can follow us on Twitter. We have a Twitter page. I don't know if Di, have you posted anything on Twitter for Mid-Year Mystery Madness?
I did.
Emily.
I posted all of the host announcements. I posted when the first part posted. I posted when the second part posted.
Awesome.
And then I posted.
Okay, great. So we're everywhere. We are everywhere. Willifred. Oh, that's awesome. Julia says Wilfred. Oh, Wilfred. Okay, yes. Oh, I like that. That's funny. Okay, great. Thanks, everybody. I'm going to end the broadcast. Thanks to everyone. I could say thank you over and over, but bye. And any final words, really quick? Anybody? All right, bye. Have a great day. Read a good book, and God bless you.